World War II is generally considered to have begun on the 1st of September 1939, when Nazi Germany, under Adolf Hitler, invaded Poland after having staged several false flag border incidents as a pretext to initiate the invasion. Under the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact of August 1939, Germany and the Soviet Union had partitioned Poland and marked out their spheres of influence across Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Romania. The United Kingdom and France subsequently declared war on Germany on the 3rd of September. The alliance provided no direct military support to Poland, outside of a cautious French probe into the Saarland. On the 17th of September 1939, Soviet Union invaded Poland. On the 27th of September, the Warsaw garrison surrendered to the Germans, and the last large operational unit of the Polish army surrendered on the 6th of October. After the outbreak of war in Poland, Stalin threatened Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania with military invasion, forcing the three Baltic countries to sign pacts that stipulated the creation of Soviet military bases in these countries. Finland refused to sign a similar pact and rejected ceding part of its territories. The Soviet Union invaded Finland in November 1939. Despite overwhelming numerical superiority, Soviet military success during the Winter War was modest, and the Finno-Soviet War ended in March 1940 with some Finnish concessions of territory. In April 1940, Germany invaded Denmark and Norway to protect shipments of iron ore from Sweden, which the Allies were attempting to cut off. Denmark capitulated after a few hours, and Norway was conquered within 2 months despite Allied support. On the 10th of May 1940, Germany launched an offensive against France. German airborne troops attacked Belgian fortifications and bridges. They used primitive unlined-shaped charges to destroy turrets of bunkers. To circumvent the strong Maginot Line fortifications on the Franco-German border, Germany directed its attack at the neutral nations of Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg. the Germans carried out a flanking maneuver through the Ardennes region. By successfully implementing new blitzkrieg tactics, the Wehrmacht rapidly advanced to the Channel and cut off the Allied forces in Belgium, trapping the bulk of the Allied armies in a cauldron on the Franco-Belgian border near Lille. The United Kingdom was able to evacuate a significant number of Allied troops from the continent by early June, although abandoning almost all their equipment. The Air Battle of Britain began in early July. German air superiority campaign started in August but failed to defeat British air forces. In October, Italy attacked Greece, but the attack was repulsed with heavy Italian casualties. But with German forces, Greece was forced to surrender within the month. Italian defeats in Africa prompted Germany to deploy an expeditionary force, Rommel's Afrika Korps. On the 22nd of June 1941, Germany, supported by Italy and Romania, invaded the Soviet Union. Operation Barbarossa forced the Soviet Supreme Command to adopt a strategic defense. During the summer, the Axis made significant gains into Soviet territory, inflicting immense losses in both personnel and material. Hitler's objectives were to eliminate the Soviet Union as a military power, exterminate communism, generate Lebensraum by dispossessing the native population. Despite some local successes, Soviet armored forces were beaten. Most of their tanks were obsolete, however. T-34 and mighty KV tanks surprised Germans, but it wasn't enough to stop them. Luckily for the Soviets, harsh weather slowed down Axis armies. Fresh reserves allowed the Soviets to begin a massive counteroffensive that started on the 5th of December all along the front and pushed German troops 100 to 250 kilometers west. In the North Africa, Rommel and his Italian allies were pushing Brits. Battle of Gazala was his greatest victory. The Soviets decided to make their stand at Stalingrad on the Volga. Inflicting heavy losses, Red Army managed to stop Wehrmacht. The Soviets began their second winter counteroffensive, starting with an encirclement of German forces at Stalingrad. German troops at Stalingrad had been destroyed, and the front line was pushed back beyond its position before the summer offensive. The Axis forces in Africa withdrew into Tunisia, which was conquered by the Allies in May 1943. What's more, they invaded Sicily. Hitler was furious and he demanded new super tanks for his summer offensive against USSR. But Soviets knew his brilliant plan a long time before its realization and prepared a defense in depth and minefields. They surprised Germans with artillery bombardment and aerial attacks just hours before planned assault. Hitler cancelled the offensive at Kursk after only a week, in part to divert forces to Italy. German strategic offensive was halted before it could break through enemy defenses. However, Soviets' losses were truly high. Main outcome of the Tehran Conference was the Western Allies' commitment to open a second front against Nazi Germany. On the 3rd of September 1943, Allies started their invasion of Italy. On the 6th of June 1944, after 3 years of Soviet pressure, the Western Allies invaded northern France. These landings were successful and led to the defeat of the German army units in occupied France. Germans are losing on every front, their situation is hopeless. Allied air forces ruined German cities and their factories. Luftwaffe had been destroyed, so resistance was low. Hitler planned a major offensive in Ardennes region which would force Allies to negotiate peace. Although the offensive was effectively broken by the 27th of December, the battle continued for another month before the front line was effectively restored to its position prior to the attack. The aim of the Yalta Conference was to shape a post-war peace that represented not only a collective security order but also a plan to give self-determination to the liberated people of Europe. Germans are preparing for their last hopeless battle. Volkssturm and other Levi troops can't stand against huge Red Army. Only wonder weapons can save Third Reich. Fortunately, Nazis failed to make nuclear weapons or UFOs. War is over. German forces surrendered on the 29th of April. On the 30th of April, the Reichstag was captured, signaling the military defeat of Nazi Germany, and the Berlin garrison surrendered on the 2nd of May. World War II changed world's order and borders of many countries. The first phase of the Cold War began shortly after the end of the war in 1945.